Hi Year 11, this is Miss Taylor here and I'm going to be going through how to revise effectively for your history GCSE. Now before we go into some examples of how to revise the best, I just want to go through some do's and don'ts very quickly. One of the biggest things that is recommended for you not to do is to listen to music while you are revising. This is because you are focusing more on the lyrics that you are listening to than the information that you are revising. It is recommended if you have to listen to something and can't revise in silence, it should be instrumental music. Another don't is trying to cram loads and loads of information all in one go. Lots and lots of students do this sort of the week and sometimes even the night before an exam, and what that means is that their brain cannot physically hold all of that information and they will forget the information that they've spent so long cramming in very, very quickly. So we're going to start with one of my favourite revision techniques, and this is a revision mind map. So I'm sure you've done things like this in other subjects as well. I'm going to choose, just for our example, to revise Nazi Germany, and I'm going to choose the key topic 4 where we are looking at what it's like to live in Nazi Germany. So in the middle I'm going to write the topic of what I am revising. I'm going to draw my nice little bubble around it. It doesn't have to be a work of art, it doesn't have to be in loads and loads of fancy colours, that's just what I like, but I'm aware that some people do not. So I'm going to start off with my first area where I am going to talk about women. Okay, and that's really important, is to have your spider diagram, your mind map, broken down into sections rather than just 20-30 different stems coming off it that don't really have a clear heading. So I'm going to bullet point all the different things that I can remember about what life was like for women. So the first one is that they had to be mothers. The second one is that they were given marriage loans if they got married. The third one is that they were given medals for the amount of children that they had. Now again, this doesn't have to be really, really detailed. What we are looking for is those trigger words that will help you to remember the rest of the information. So for example, medals might not look like a lot of information, but that should hopefully trigger in your mind the extra information. So the fact that medals were given bronze, silver and gold for 4 children, 6 children and 8 children. Again, marriage loans, that should then trigger the fact that people were encouraged to get married, they were given a loan, and every time that they had a child, part of that loan was paid off. Another example is that you could link certain things together. So for example, we've got women at the start of the Nazi Germany period. This is where they wanted them to become women. You then may want to do a branch coming off that to show the change that happened in that period. So for example, when the men went to war in 1939, the role of women changed from mothers to workers, and Hitler was in a bit of a conflict. Now that will work for any of the topics that we have studied so far. So for crime and punishment, you can do what things were like in one period, and then you can talk about how they have changed in a different period or how they have changed and developed in the same period. Again, with Elizabeth, you can talk about how things changed throughout her rule, how things got worse, like for example the relationship with Spain started off bad and got worse with the Spanish Armada and the Anglo-English War. With the American West, which we've only just started, again, we can talk about the progression of how things change. So it doesn't just have to be a mind map of information, it can be a mind map that can highlight lots and lots of different things. Another thing that is really effective in history is a timeline. And any students in my class will know, as I've told them, that when I did my GCSEs at school all those many years ago, I had a timeline for each of my topics pinned to my bedroom wall. That might not be for you, but a timeline is still really good. In the past, when I did my GCSEs, I had to remember all the different dates, whereas what you have to remember is very simply the time period. So I'm going to use Nazi Germany as an example again. So you might start with, for example, 1918, the end of World War II. Again, this doesn't need to be extremely detailed, okay? This is just to give you an overview of what is going on. You will end it with 1945, end of the war, okay? And then you will add on the different dates in between, okay? So for example, you might plot the most important dates first, like 1933, Hitler comes to power. You may, depending how creative you want to get, colour code your timeline. So you might colour code it into the key topics, so key topic 1, key topic 2, key topic 3, key topic 4. You might colour code it into things that stayed the same, things that changed. You might colour code it into the types of people that were affected. There's lots and lots of different things that you can do with the timeline, as well as just very simply writing the dates. But that will help you get the events in order so that when you are asked a question about a particular period of time, you should have a good understanding of what happened in that time period. The final way that I like to revise for history is flashcards. Now, this again can be used in a variety of different ways. The way that I like to use them is on the front, I either have a date, or I have a particular person, or I have a particular event. And then on the back, I like to write the information. So, for example, I'm going to choose 1923, Germany again. You can tell what my favourite part of the course is. And then on the back, very simply, very briefly, I'm going to write what happened in 1923. So we have hyperinflation. We have the occupation of the Ruhr. We have the Munich Putsch. Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm not going into a lot of detail. You can choose to write a little bit more or a little bit less. But if you've got 200 flashcards in front of you, again, that's making your revision very, very unmanageable. Okay? And what's good about these flashcards is that you can get friends, you can get people at home to test you. So they can, for example, say 1923, and you can try and recall what's on the back, or they could give you the information and you could try and recall who is the person or what is the date on the front. There are lots and lots of other resources out there. For example, BBC Bite Size is a fantastic resource. There's lots and lots of other things as well. You've been given GCSE revision guides. Those are really good to help you create some of the resources that I've gone through today. I have every confidence in you that you will be extremely successful if you follow some of these tips.